applicant pools for a wide variety of positions that applicants may or may not be qualified for. And then they move through the process the same as everyone else. We have work to do with the Hispanic Latinx community in that space. We have leveraged our experts from the community with our HR professionals to really kind of drill down, where are the applicants? Are a vast majority of diverse applicants applying for the same small subset of jobs, so that the applicant numbers are high, but the hires are low because there are 300 people of a particular community applying for one job and there's one hire out of that, versus those 300 applicants applying to a whole bunch of jobs and 100 of them getting hired. So we continue to do that work. We continue to be impressed with our partnerships with the EPACs, and are finally in a spot where we can take action based on what the data is telling us about how people are moving through the process.
And I think Representative Williams was referring to your particular department as well, being 80% Caucasian, and looking at those numbers, how are you internally looking at diversification? Because you're at 4% Hispanic, 13% African American, 3% other, but are there things that are barriers? And one of the barriers I know was a legislation that got passed years ago that says that, state government is here in Springfield, but that could, I know that is a barrier for people who don't want to move to Springfield. But in your specific department, how are we looking at these numbers trending? Because they're not trending, from what I've seen year after year after year, they're really not trending far off of this breakdown. So what are you doing specifically in your department to make sure that your department reflects pretty much the community?
I'm a Black woman from the South Side of Chicago. Diversity.
No, I understand
that. It's clear. Maybe you didn't know the South Side. I'm not from the West Side, but diversity is go Sox. Diversity is who I am. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Let me get out of this here, and then we can talk about it.
All right. When are we going to do the crosstown?
Yeah. There we go.
Let's go.
All right. Diversity, I never divorce myself from who and what that looks like. I exist to help somebody else who looks like me, who maybe doesn't, but who shares my experience and our shared experience. CMS is full, I don't know if y'all follow Instagram, and I'm going to bring it home, but there's a little thing going on, like, Dad, what were you like in the 90s? And so my comms team, they did CMS, what were you like in the 90s? It's on LinkedIn, Instagram, all the things. They're amazing, the young people who run our comms team. And they pulled a bunch of pictures from the 90s from CMS, and it was a majority white men. And the first thing that one of my staffers said after she said how cool it was, she said, CMS looks really different today. And it was only 30 years ago or 40 years ago. But also the reality is, to your point, Chair, CMS is what I would call, it is the cradle of state government. It is old school. If there's nothing else that is Springfield, very old school state government, it is CMS. And so a lot of our positions continue to be located here. We also are, if you look behind me, that I'm really proud of those folks. That's part of my leadership team. We represent geographically, ethnically, and experience-wise the diverse melanage that is Illinois. We continue to identify, and 93% of our workforce is unionized, and so there's a process about how you get into the funnel. On some of those positions, you had to be in the funnel 25 years ago, and if you weren't in the funnel 25 years ago, you're not going to be a manager or a supervisor, et cetera. You also look at the type of work that we do. People may not know, I have mechanics. I got 7 garages throughout the state. Typically, that's going to be male, that's going to be white. That is the reality. Now, whether I have facilities all throughout the state, we do have diversity, though. I mean, we're at 19% Latino change. Hold on, there.
19% increase.
19% increase Latino since fiscal year 24. 10% increase African American since fiscal year 24, and just a 3% increase on Caucasian since 2024. 7% increase on women since fiscal year 2024, and 3% male. We are making progress as an agency, and I also understand who CMS represents, what it represents to other agencies. We have to be the model agency. I put my people's picture on the website, one, because you need to know who we are. We shouldn't be hidden. But I'm wildly proud of the diversity and will continue to advance it.
No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the strides, and I am a product of the '80s, so my '90s were in the military. There were no cell phones back then, so I'm saved from that. But in terms of workforce, our data shows there is improvement. In 24, we had 25 Hispanic Americans. It rose to 31. So so there are improvements with regards to that. But in terms of the data and looking at, my question was, are there artificial things that we have done legislatively, such as that legislation that says that the bulk of the employees have to be in Springfield, or things that are barriers legislatively that you guys would look at and would identify, was the crux of my question.
I don't know if it's legislatively, to be honest. I think it's a culture and it's a decision. Agency, particularly legacy agencies, meaning those who are very centered to Springfield, the leadership has to change and be comfortable with knowing we can manage people in different areas. And it doesn't just have to be Chicago, it's wherever the right person is. I will tell you that once a quarter, I bring all of our senior leaders together in Springfield. So it's not a barrier where you sit every day, but we're all going to be together every quarter. My exec team, we meet every month, opposite cities, just for the day. You need to see your people. I think it has to be a leadership shift. You all gave us the ability to put something in Cook or Sangamon or wherever we need it. So use your power. If you're so stuck that everybody has to be in one city or one area, you will be limited. And we've tapped out markets in different, people are everywhere. And so we have to find the best people wherever they are, and it has to be from a tone at the top, a leadership decision. I speak for CMS. I certainly share with my colleagues we have the tools, use them. But I think from a legislative perspective, I think in the conversations, how do you view the tool that you have to move positions from different counties? I think that's a better question and a way to continue to track that.
No, I think that's great. And I think any legislative initiatives that we have to take or adjust, I think is more welcomed and worthy of discussion. And then just turning back, this committee last year had a subject matter hearing on the CIP plan, the college insurance plan for retirees. We had testimony on how woefully underfunded that fund is. The backlog of bills, I think, was like 18 months. Can we have an update on the CIP plan for our retirees of our community colleges
Sure.
system?
The fix that this body passed, thank you. It was probably 15 years overdue. We still remain on track to pay back the $50 million loan by 2033. As I sit here today, we've paid off about $12 million in outstanding debt, but I'm going to let Colin Brewer really go through the numbers with you, because I'll get in trouble if I go say much more.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Representative. Colin Brewer, I'm the Benefits Finance Officer for CMS. Yes, it was the Budget Implementation Act in the spring of calendar 2023 that the legislature passed, and that allowed us to tap into immediately a $50 million interfund loan from the Health Insurance Reserve Fund. Prior to that, we had reached our highest point was in late 2022 when we had just a little bit over $127 million worth of outstanding medical payables. And that was going back almost a 3-year delay at that point. And with that with a $25 million appropriation prior to the BIMP passing, and then the BIMP passage, which gave us that $50 million loan, we were able to get it down to right around 50 $50 million at the beginning of what we call this SIP fix, which did also include increased rates in the GRF contribution and contributions made by active community college employees and community college districts. So they were historically paying 0.5% of salary and then matched by districts and GRFs. And that Budget Implementation Act increased those rates to 0.758595. And now beginning in fiscal year 2027, there's a 5% increase index in that 0.95% rate. So it's going to continue to go up each year as needed and only if needed. If we continue our cost containment efforts and are able to keep the costs from growing too much, we probably might not need that, but it's there if we do to continue to buy down that. And the additional $12 million that the director had just mentioned is actually only in the last 12 months we've been able to pay that down. And now, as of Monday, I believe we're only sitting on now about $37.8 million worth of outstanding payables. And again, as the director mentioned, it is still in the works based on the original plan to be able to completely pay back that $50 million loan to the Health Insurance Reserve Fund and completely relieve all of the debt by 2033.
So, it seems kind of contrary to, if we have 37.8 million outstanding payables, that's to practitioners and, those are medical costs owed to providers, is that correct?
Some directly to doctors and dentists and to our other vendors as well.
So, and then the $50 million loan is on top of that. So we're looking at 87 million total debt picture for this.
Still,
fund.
yes.
And I've said this in the past, I question, number one, putting strain on a fund that has a $37 million deficit with a loan payment when we're still trying to right the ship with regards to the providers. And as mentioned before, just for the bodies, the committees, this does not qualify for the vendor assistance program. So these vendors and doctors and dentists are literally financing, these on their own or through other means.
If I could make a point of clarification there, this is a non-appropriated trust fund held outside the state treasury, so it is not subject to the Prompt Payment Act, and you are correct in that sense. But payments directly to providers, doctors and dentists and hospitals and such, those are actually covered under the Insurance Code and the Timely Payment Act. So if there are any delays in payments to those providers directly, they are getting, there is an interest rate associated with late payment on those bills.
Correct, but the point is they're just not getting the money. What's the delay in payment to the providers right now? What's their wait time, I guess, between service and when they're going to get paid?
Chair, if I may, while he looks for that answer, totally understand your point, and it's heard, and we agree. No, that's why we wanted to fix it. This was just an outgrowth of CMS tried to fix the payment structure for SIP in 2010 and 2011. We were not successful then. And so a number of years and decisions led us to where we are. So your point regarding small business owners are carrying our weight, heard, and that's why we wanted to fix. To answer your data question.
The oldest bill that we have in-house right now is July of 2024. There are I can get you more detail. I don't have all of that with me because there are different components that we do hold at different levels. Fully insured HMO payments actually go out a little bit later. We do focus primarily getting payments that are going to hospitals, to doctors, and to dentists directly. Those are farther ahead than some that are going to big corporations that we know can actually handle that cash flow delay a little bit better. So I can provide you all the detail of exactly where we are on the different components.
That would be appreciated because the main issue, and for other pieces of legislation that I've had, primarily, not penalizing retirees who choose their own investment path versus a pension path and penalizing them with having to liquidate and turn into annuity. This fund has been used to state that other pieces of legislation can't move because of this debt, first and foremost. Second, I think it's disingenuous to say that we're paying all our bills on time when we have doctors' bills that are so far, over a year out, these doctors are holding our debt and not taking payments. And thirdly, I'm hearing from community college individuals that while they are maxed out and they can retire, they choose not to retire because of this fund, because they have to wait until they're 65, because they don't trust that the money they put into this fund is going to give them adequate health insurance until they hit 65. So there's numerous issues that we, as a legislative body, have to have under control. This has been outstanding for years, and we're in the budget process right now and would look to CMS to engage in dialogue so that we can fix this problem, maybe through another BIMP. We're in 2026 now. The BIMP in 2023, we're 3 years out. We still have an issue, and looking to see if we can correct this. I know 2033 is a long way out, and this needs to be corrected sooner than 2023 or 2033. And right now is the time to have these discussions with regards to making sure that we do pay all our bills on time, including doctors that are servicing our retirees. So I do appreciate that.
Understood.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for that update. Any other questions? Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This will be two easy questions. Well, one easy one, and I'll let it go because it's getting early in the morning or late in the morning, I guess. To the young lady who was sitting to the right of you, just from my notes, what was her name?
Sarah Curley, statewide Chief Administrative Officer. The Bureau of Personnel reports to her.
SARAH. Oh, I see
Yeah.
it. I see it. Thank you. So my next question is I noticed you all say that you don't use AI for hiring process, which is very good. I'm very proud of you all for that. But with that being said, so who makes or how is the final decision made on who gets hired?
Well, that's a loaded question. It depends on the role. It depends on the requirements of the job description of what they've put in front of us. Is there an interview required? If it might be more helpful if you have a particular role in common in mind, and we can talk through that
Now,
process.
for any role, whether it be highway maintainers or just basically, I'm not talking about a role, one particular role in particular, but just basically who makes decisions throughout the whole process on who gets hired. Is it a collaborative effort? Is it in one-on-one interviews, or who makes that? How is that final decision made?
Sure. So it depends. The answer, and I'm not saying that because I'm a lawyer. Because it really does depend. So let's say if you are a CNA and you're going to go work at a facility in DHS, the reality is if you check off the minimal boxes of having the right certificate, right age, and you agree you want to do this, you're hired. And we're going to go back and spend about 30 days and make sure all of those things.
Who made the decision to hire the CNA?
The policy, well, we had a policy shift that for a CNA, in order to get frontline workers to the bedside of our veterans and folks in care, if you hit these minimal requirements and you agree you want to do it, you're hired on the spot. If we're having an on-the-spot hiring event, and then we'll spend about 30 days on the back end to make sure you are who you say you are, all these things, we'll go back and do the due diligence. So that is how that role gets hired.
Is that a computer who decides that on-the-spot hiring?
No, it's a
or is
person.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Who would that person be? Was that a director? Or
No,
who would that person
Sarah.
be?
Thank you.
Who would be the person to make
Thank you,
that decide that if who hires CNA, what CNA gets hired and what CNA doesn't get hired?
So to director's point, where we have those direct, it's an order. Often it's randomized, and we say, "Good morning, Karen. Do you want to start work next? In 2 weeks? Yes, you do. Great. That one's filled. Next in the list, Raven. Do you want to work? Sarah. Do you want to work? Eric. Do you want to work? On and on and on for those types of positions. But
So is that a individual or is that a computer system?
No, it is not a computer system. There are hiring professionals at the hiring agency. So in that case, it'd be DHS or DVA or wherever.
What would be that person who makes the decision, hire or not hire someone, title be?
often it is an HR specialist who's making those functional, working through the process and making those reach out to making those offers, conditional offers to employees.
That's it. Thank
HR
you.
specialist.
Thank you. HR specialist, thank you.
Yep, that is easy.
I do have to say that on-the-spot hiring has been very, very well received. That individuals show up and can walk away knowing that they have employment. That's been really well received. I've heard good things about that. So I do want to give kudos to the department for that on-the-spot hiring process.
Thank you. That was an outgrowth of Senate Bill 2228. It really, watershed statute right there.
Well, thank you, Director. For those that want to look up 2228, I'm sure we can get the Public Act for you and get that information. But any other information you want the committee to know or be aware of in your final remarks?
Sure. I believe we delivered kind of I call it a love letter to the work that we've done in hiring. It's a small brochure. The people who did that work will probably never sit in this room and say, hey, get to tell you about their work, but I'm very proud. It took hundreds of people several years to get us there. It's not an ending point. Very, very important that you all know that really was a partnership. Senate Bill 228 foundationally changed the way Illinois will respond to its workforce. And we're very proud of it. We continue, we're not perfect. I know I've talked about a lot of the, I gotta do offense. I gotta talk about all of the good things. We are aware of some of the areas that we can continue to improve in. And so long as I'm in the seat, we're gonna drive towards that. I appreciate the opportunity to present our budget, to talk about our work, and the invitation to challenge it and some of the tips that you all gave, because we can only get better in that way. So thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. And we're going to have to have a talk about that White Sox comment that was made. The chair takes it to heart, but certainly.
I live less than a mile away. Come on.
No, I hear it. My grandparents were on 56 and Pulaski.
Oh,
so
there we go. My kind
I
of
totally
people.
get you. I totally get you. But I've transitioned into a Cubs household, so it's a blended kind of scenario. But no, thank you all. Thank you all for attending, and really appreciate the feedback. And if we can certainly, with all due respect, get that CIP program under control, that we really need to make sure that our retirees are getting the proper care that they deserve, that they've paid into, and that they expected, would be really appreciated. And right now we're in the budget process, so if we could do that, that would be wonderful.
Understood.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Take care.
you.
Thank you all. All right, thank you all. There being no further business, the House Appropriations, Personnel, and Pension Committee shall recess to the call of the chair. Thank you.